Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Manipulative Man. Identify his behavior, counter the abuse, regain control. By Dorothy McCoy, EDD. Narrated by Linda Jones. Publisher's note. In this audio edition, you will hear references to charts present in the print and ebook formats of the book. Chapter 1. Manipulation, Thy Name is Man. Don't you think that any secret course is an unworthy one? Charles Dickens. Women are mesmerized by the forbidden relationship, the exciting stranger who radiates danger and yet seems vulnerable and wounded by life. We want to crush him to our breasts and ease his pain. Simultaneously, we desire the thrill and the exhilarating sting of danger. We want to be the one woman who, by virtue of her unconditional love, will transform him into the perfect lover. Yes, we are certain we will succeed where lesser women have failed. Women also adore the little boy who has never quite managed to grow up. He simply needs the love of a good woman to blossom into Indiana Jones. He needs love, approval, and acceptance from us to achieve the self-confidence he has been denied. We see a wonderful, sweet man, full of promise and potential, waiting for someone to believe in him as only we can. These are a couple of the myths we embrace over and over again. The manipulators perpetuate these myths and others, and oh, they have many, many brothers. You will meet the brotherhood of manipulative men in this book. There is the too-good-to-be-true stranger who will steal your Corvette and max out your credit cards. The feckless boy man who will allow you to be his mom, assume responsibility for his actions or the lack thereof, and grant each of his whims. I bet you have met one of the manipulators. Did he promise you the stars and play you like a musical instrument? Many women have fallen for the illusion because it is so expertly conceived and performed. Nevertheless, please don't worry. You are not unintelligent or gullible. Much of their irresistible attraction is chemical. Another stumbling stone is our nurturing nature, which is culturally encouraged. Fortunately, you do have the power to change your beliefs and behaviors and become less susceptible. Have no fear. You can learn to recognize a manipulator, avoid their traps, and live as the incredible woman you are, not the woman they choose to create. Stay with me, and we will explore the top 9 least wanted list of manipulative types in order to avoid them, house-train them if they are willing, and/or learn to outmaneuver them. Tighten your seatbelt. This will be an incredible ride. Do you have a man in your life who doesn't play by the rules? Unfortunately, manipulation as a tool for achieving one's goals is not rare, nor is it a modern adaptation. Remember the biblical story about Joseph and his coat of many colors? Joseph was manipulated by his envious brothers. Charles Manson manipulated naive young girls. Stalin and Hitler manipulated entire nations. We all use manipulation to some extent, but some individuals depend on it to feed their egos and reach their narcissistic goals. Manipulative behavior is used to influence and control others for one's own benefit. Normally, manipulative behavior is covert, because if we recognize it, we would don a garlic necklace and learn to protect ourselves. That is the purpose of this book. A garlic necklace, silver bullet, and wolfsbane to protect you from the manipulators who would selfishly use you. Manipulation, Thy Name is Man. We often hear that women manipulate to create a level playing field because men are larger and more physically powerful. Perhaps this is true. However, men are experts at manipulative behaviors and play it as if it were Saturday afternoon football. Well, they have scored enough points. If you know how to counter manipulation, you can strengthen your relationships. Intimacy does not grow in an inequitable environment. You can make free choices based on your beliefs and experiences, and in your best interest. At times, it is in your best interest to leave a manipulative relationship when it cannot be changed, or it is inherently unhealthy. Take heart. Frequently, the casual manipulator will, with guidance, see the light, adapt his behavior, and work with you to create a mutually gratifying, loving relationship. Why do men manipulate? There are many reasons, and none of them are justifiable. Here are some of the more obvious and common reasons. To get their own way, to prevent you from making a free choice, to feel in control and powerful, to impose their reality on you, to avoid responsibility, to gain an unfair advantage, to distort reality, to preserve their distorted self-concept, to diminish you, to discourage intimacy, to coerce. These goals are only examples. Sometimes a man may manipulate simply from habit. Habits become ingrained. Manipulators reach for the familiar tool rather than exploring the situation and choosing the most effective tool. In Habit, Chapter 4 in his Principles of Psychology, William James, 1890 to 1981, made one of modern psychology's first pronouncements on the course of adult development. Already at the age of 25, you see the professional mannerism settling down on the young commercial traveler, on the young doctor, on the young minister, on the young counselor at law. You see the little lines of cleavage running through the character, the tricks of thought, the prejudices, the ways of the shop, in a word, from which the man can by and by no more escape than his coat sleeve can suddenly fall into a new set of folds. In most of us, by the age of 30, the character has set like plaster and will never soften again. Fortunately, that is not quite true, but for the person with a personality disorder or severe maladaptive personality traits, without fully meeting the criteria for a personality disorder, substantial change is unlikely. Who manipulates? Individuals with personality disorders frequently employ manipulative behaviors. Others may also focus on achieving their goals at any cost. Nonetheless, they probably have characteristics in common with individuals who meet the criteria in the DSM-4TR, a manual of the American Psychiatric Association, for a personality disorder. Their cloaked influence may be subtle or obvious, but you can depend on one thing. They will deny using manipulation, or they will reframe it in a positive way. As Dr. Harriet Breaker, author of Who's Pulling Your Strings, says, "The reason manipulation persists is because it works, and the counter-control that a victim has is to make it stop working. Therefore, your power is in your ability to see beneath the manipulator's words into his scheming thinking process. You would be surprised how easy it becomes with a little practice. Once you understand his true purpose, his manipulative behavior loses its power to influence you. We are accustomed to some forms of subtle manipulation. For example, salespersons, news commentators, and politicians are often suspected of being less than completely trustworthy. Unless one is extremely naive, one knows to throw in a grain of salt when interpreting their messages. Again, they have an agenda, and their goals may not be our goals. However, when manipulation occurs in an intimate relationship, a personal trust has been broken, and someone we love and trust has taken advantage of us. Manipulators have many faces. Fortunately, you can learn to recognize them. This may help. Let's meet the personality disorders. Manipulators consider a relationship either a contest of wits, which they play exceptionally well, or a way in which to have their needs met. Could you learn to manipulate and beat them at their own game? Don't even think it. They will win. They are experts, and you are an amateur. There is a price to pay when a person habitually manipulates, and that price is distance and isolation. Intimacy is only a vague concept to the manipulative man or woman. Author of How to Spot Dangerous Men Before You Get Involved, counselor Sandra Brown warns that men with ingrained personality disorders are incapable of making healthy adaptive changes, no matter how sincere they may sound. Some men cannot change, and others have no interest in changing. They will attempt to manipulate your emotions to keep you in an inequitable relationship. You will notice self-serving behaviors. That is, forgetting his wallet at restaurants, not calling when he will be late. Very early in the relationship if you pay close attention to what they do, not what they say. Knowledge is power. So let's learn more about personality disorders and the traits that make individuals qualify for the diagnosis. He may have some of the traits but does not meet the criteria for a specific personality disorder. What makes them tick, and how to recognize their manipulative behaviors. All of the manipulative men in this book have one or more of the personality disorder characteristics listed here. Personality disorders and characteristics. Antisocial. Beginning early in life, these antisocial individuals display a talent for getting into trouble. Many end up in conflict with the law and are incarcerated. They can be charming and fun, but it is a bumpy ride and you pay for the gas. They are remorseless and impulsive. If you want to have fun, they will show you a good time. When it is time to be a responsible adult, however, they won't be around. Their goal is to have fun and live dangerously. Common manipulation? He will find your vulnerability and use it to control you. Borderline. Borderline individuals are highly emotional and tend to idealize relationships and then vilify them. They are on an emotional roller coaster and they will take friends and family along for the ride. They are fearful of abandonment and will display extreme behavior if you leave the relationship. In DSM Made Easy, Dr. James Morrison says of people with borderline personality disorders, they are uncertain about who they are and lack the ability to maintain stable interpersonal relationships. Common manipulation? He will threaten to harm himself to keep you in the relationship. Histrionic. These individuals can be sexually seductive and overly emotional, and they seek attention. They are willing to do whatever it takes to remain on center stage. Early in a relationship, they can be fun and interesting. Soon, however, one discovers that they do not have strong feeling about anything that does not pertain to them and their desire for attention. They are vain and invest heavily in their appearance. Common manipulation? He will seduce you into meeting his need for constant attention. Narcissistic. These men see themselves as the center of the universe. If you wish to have a relationship with one of them, and why would you had better agree with him. They do not take constructive criticism well. They want to be pampered and admired. Nothing else will meet their demanding expectations. Common manipulation? He will pursue and win you with calculated too-good-to-be-true pseudo-charm, and then he will drain you dry. Dependent. Dependent men desperately need the approval of others and fear making independent decisions. They will cling to a relationship to avoid being alone. They require a great deal of affirmation and reassurance. The end of a relationship is a crisis for them, and they will attempt to hold on. They may become quite emotional. Common manipulation? These men are just so darn nice and are certainly willing to do anything to avoid conflict or abandonment. Wait. This niceness comes with an overwhelming dependency. Psychopath. Successful psychopaths, believe me, they are not all in jail, can charm you out of your heart, your knickers, and your trust fund before you know what is happening. Even when they disappear without a word, you may still staunchly defend them. It is their talent. Listen to your instinct on this one. Warning flags featuring a skull and crossbones will flap vigorously in their wake. I was told by a police officer that the hair on the back of his neck stands up when he meets a psychopath. I hope you are so lucky. Common manipulation? Much like the narcissistic manipulator, and he may be both. The psychopath can be sinfully, stunningly charming, frequently highly intelligent, and again, too good to be true. When you fall for the attractive package, be aware it comes equipped with incredibly shallow emotions and a staggering price tag. If you want empathy and love, pick another model. Most men you meet will probably not qualify for a formal personality disorder diagnosis. However, they may have a number of the characteristics described in the DSM-4TR criteria. Personality disordered persons are probably no more than 10% of the general population. This varies from study to study. You may know a number of men who have some or even many of the characteristics. Individuals with personality disorders or traits commonly use manipulation to achieve their goals. Also, according to the ICD-10, the mental health manual used in Europe, the following characteristics are associated with personality disorders: callous unconcern for the feelings of others, gross and persistent attitude of irresponsibility and disregard for social norms, rules, and obligations, incapacity to maintain enduring relationships, though having no difficulty in establishing them, very low tolerance to frustration, and a low threshold for discharge of aggression, including violence, incapacity to experience guilt or to profit from experience, particularly punishment, marked proneness to blame others or to offer plausible rationalizations for the behavior that has brought the patient into conflict with society. Callous unconcern can be mistaken for manly reticence. You may think that he controls his emotions well, a John Wayne, the strong, silent type with a heart of gold. Be careful. He may not have a heart. The irresponsible man may appear to be fun, a free spirit, like a Corvette. Keep in mind, Corvettes use the highest-priced fuel, have little space for luggage, and frequently leak. A less glamorous SUV might be more practical and less costly in the long run. You may believe that a man who is incapable of maintaining an enduring relationship is tragically poetic. You would be mistaken. If his relationships are to endure over time, a man must be able to connect emotionally with a woman, strive to understand her needs, and attempt to meet those needs. Many disordered men and many maladjusted men, they have some of the character traits but do not meet the criteria for a diagnosis, do not have the skills and/or the desire to maintain an intimate, caring relationship. Women sometimes mistakenly believe that a man with a low level of tolerance to frustration and the discharge of aggression is an exciting, hat-bearing Indiana Jones. Actually, low frustration means reacting aggressively in situations in which other men might feel mildly irked, if they have any reaction. In the article, Frustration-Aggression Reformulation, Berkowitz discussed the association between frustration, expectations, and aggression. An unanticipated failure to obtain an attractive goal is more unpleasant than an expected failure, and it is the greater displeasure in the former case that gives rise to the stronger instigation to aggression. The thwarted person's appraisals and attributions presumably determine how bad they feel. Psychopaths, antisocial individuals, and narcissists and their wannabes fully believe they should reach their goals no matter how unreasonable or ridiculous their expectations might be. These men have immense egos and do not react reasonably if they are thwarted or frustrated. You cannot win in such a relationship, attempting to predict how he will respond, even in perfectly innocuous situations, is fraught with danger. A man who exhibits incapacity to experience guilt or to profit from experience, particularly punishment, is a bad little boy who will never grow up. If this is what you are looking for, this is your man. You must understand, however, that saying something such as, "It frightens me when you do that," will have absolutely no effect on him. In addition, he may have lost jobs, made enemies, and damaged relationships because he cannot govern his temper or keep his promises. Having those undesirable experiences will probably not stimulate him to alter his behavior. The man who exhibits a marked proneness to blame others or to offer plausible rationalizations will tell you, and you may choose to believe him, that he is maltreated by the world. What compassionate woman would not feel a yearning to champion a man so unjustly wronged? Unfortunately, after a short time, he will decide that you too are one of the malfeasants who mistreat him. Be assured, if he did it, he will manufacture a perfectly plausible explanation for doing it. The dark side. Some traits and behaviors are beneficial and adaptive unless they are carried to extremes. For example, when comparing the following two lists, notice that the first list contains traits that are either positive or neutral. The second list contains extremes of each trait. They are no longer neutral, harmless, endearing, or positive. Remember, human beings are purposeful. If he has extreme personality traits, there is probably a payoff, or he would have stopped using the behaviors that are associated with that trait. Once you understand his goal, the payoff, you will understand your role in his life, if you should decide to accept the role. For example, if he is arrogant, that is, narcissistic, psychopathic, he needs continuous adoration, and he will use whatever manipulative techniques he deems necessary to achieve his goal. That, by the way, would be your role in his life. Neutral or positive. Nurturing. Dark side. Smothering. His goal? To control you. Neutral or positive. Confident. Dark side. Arrogant. His goal? Adoration. Neutral or positive. Offbeat personality. Dark side. Quirky. His goal? To be alone. Neutral or positive. Intense interest. Dark side. Jealous and possessive. His goal? Protect fragile ego. Neutral or positive. Spontaneous. Dark side. Irresponsible. His goal? To be taken care of. Neutral or positive. Strong-willed, persistent. Dark side. Stubborn, inflexible. His goal? Total compliance. Neutral or positive. Shy. Dark side. Timid. His goal? To be protected. Neutral or positive. Sensual and sexual. Dark side. Promiscuous. His goal? To win a sexual trophy. Neutral or positive. Relaxed. Dark side. Muddled. His goal? Mothering. Neutral or positive. Successful. Dark side. Workaholic. His goal? To avoid intimacy. Neutral or positive. Flattering. Dark side. Superficial. His goal? Shallow relationships. Neutral or positive. Sense of humor. Dark side. Silly. His goal? An audience. Neutral or positive. Sweet and sensitive. Dark side. Thin-skinned. His goal? Endless affirmation. It is sometimes difficult to recognize the difference between a virtue and a trait that has gone to the dark side. If you are not sure, you probably need to collect additional data. Ask yourself if the trait or behavior leads to intimacy. Does it create distance? Do you feel controlled? Do you feel overwhelmed or used? Do you feel confused? Do you feel as if you are going crazy? These are clues that something is amiss, and you might want to take a closer, more objective look at the man and his behavior. A gentler theory of personality. Some mental health professionals believe that the personality disorders and their exacting criteria are not an appropriate way to categorize pathology in individuals. Others dare to question the concept of pathology altogether. They wonder if we are in fact creating pathology by labeling individuals. They question if personality traits define what we perceive and how we perceive it. This new concept suggests using a variety of factors. It allows us to consider all of the applicable influences, that is, society, genetics, on who we are as emotional, cognitive beings. Mary Murphy in Psychology Today explicates this new perspective on personality. The new view of personality heralds a revolution in how we view disorder, marking a shift away from rigid categories of pathology to the way individuals fit in their world. In other words, we may fit comfortably into our unique niche because of a personality quirk. Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder could be exceptionally beneficial to an individual in some careers. For example, Einstein used his extraordinary intelligence and ability to focus on minute details to explore time and distance and how we understand our world. Two observers who move relative to each other will measure different time and space intervals for the same events. Therefore, as we discuss the diverse personality types in the following chapters, let's remember we are focusing on a limited number of characteristics as they pertain to relationships. Our primary focus is manipulation and understanding how various personalities use it to gain an advantage or reach a goal. Categories are generalizations that are relatively accurate when used to make assumptions and predict outcomes for a large number of individuals. I will admit that ferreting out someone's goals based on their personality traits and behaviors takes patience and practice. However, once you understand a man's goals, you can determine if you really desire a relationship with him. Again, knowledge is power. Why don't we turn to the next chapter and explore the mama's boy? He may at first glance appear genuinely thoughtful. After all, he loves his mother. As you know, appearances can be deceiving. I'll bet we will understand his goals before the end of the chapter. Chapter 2. The Mama's Boy. Men say they love independence in a woman, but they don't waste a second demolishing it brick by brick. Candace Bergen. A mama's boy may be unusually attached to his mother, or not. A man may be considered a mama's boy because he has characteristics normally associated with women. Joseph Malinek defines mama's boy as a man who has not been grounded in the masculine field. Let's give them their due. They are cute, cuddly, and frequently agreeable. Mama's boys are the teddy bears of the manipulators. They have learned how to please women. Their goal is to ensure feminine approval, usually mama's, and thereby the rewards that accompany such approval. As their name implies, mother will always come first, even when she is only a venerable memory. In the stereotypical mama's boy-mama relationship, their devotion to mother isn't simply the love and admiration that most of us feel for our mothers. It is more palpable than the deference to parents that is esteemed in our culture. Their good son behaviors are excessive, sometimes bordering on an obsession. The mama's boy is in a symbiotic relationship with his mother. Both are receiving something of supreme importance to them from their connection. This means if you plan to make a few nips and tucks in the way the mother and the son relate to each other, You will probably discover they are quite resistant. In this
Sample complete. Ready to continue?